Good morning. You know what day it is? Hump day. Mike. I can always see a little bit of my hair. Right? See that? So, a couple of days ago, we were talking about approach avoidance. We were talking about how to get yourself to take action, to schedule the things that you've been putting off. And we talked about why we do that. Fear, false evidence appearing real. We're just afraid of what it is that we're going to have to do. We look at the pain of doing it as opposed to the pleasure of getting it done. So, how else can we get ourselves to take action? Because really, the difference between the people that generate the outcomes versus the people that don't is simply they take action. That's really one of the biggest fundamental differences is those that achieve outcomes figure out how to get themselves to move forward. They don't necessarily do the right thing. As a matter of fact, most of the time they don't do the right thing, but they learn their lessons and they continue to take action. And the people that have to go through the biggest difficulties are the ones that we spend the most time studying. They're the ones that we admire. They're the ones that we look at and go, man, look at how wonderful their life is because they continued to break through. I mean, that's really every Sylvester Stallone movie, right? You know, if you watch the documentary on him, which I think is great, by the way, he goes, I love happy endings. All my movies have a happy ending. Well, his movie is all about breaking through and getting yourself to do something that you don't think you can do. You know, every great movie is a story of going from slavery to freedom. It's a story of going to a situation where you don't think you have any options to breaking through and figuring out a way. So, how is it that people get themselves to do that? Well, they get themselves to take action. Well, they make it a must, but what else can we do? You know, we can always reassociate ourselves to whatever it is that we're dealing with. So, Tony Robbins tells this great story about he came home one time and he'd been on the road and he was tired and really kind of wanted to just be with his family and hang out, and he had around 100 phone calls that he was supposed to return. And he didn't want to do it. He was like, I don't feel like doing this. This isn't what I want to be doing right now. But then he asked himself a better question. How can I make these phone calls and enjoy the process? And as he looked around his house, he had this big, beautiful house, and he had a jacuzzi. And he goes, I hadn't been in the jacuzzi in months because I hadn't been home. And he goes, I had a waterproof phone that I had bought. So he goes, I never used it. So I got into the jacuzzi and I started making all my phone calls. And as time passed, I was telling people, hey, I'm hanging out in my jacuzzi, making my phone calls. And he goes, the phone calls flew by. At the end of it, I felt good about myself because I had made the calls. And actually, I was now energized. I wanted to make more. Remember, questions are how we think. We think by asking ourselves questions. And the reason that you know that that's true is because you just asked yourself, is he right? Does that make sense? You asked yourself a question. So a way to get yourself to do something that you don't want to do is to ask a better question. So if you ask yourself, how can I lose weight? Your brain is not going to respond to that question very well because our brain doesn't like to lose something. So if you instead ask yourself, how can I gain 20 pounds of lightness? All right, now your brain likes that better. Gaining something is better. So that's a better question. Your brain's going to come up with more options. Now ask yourself, how can I gain 20 pounds of lightness and enjoy the process? Different question. Now your brain's going to go, wait a minute, 20 pounds of lightness and enjoy the process. How can I gain 20 pounds of lightness and enjoy the process and be a role model for somebody else? How can I gain 20 pounds of lightness and enjoy the process and guarantee that I'm going to achieve my outcome? Now you're going to start getting different options. So when there's something that you've been putting off that you haven't wanted to do, we all have them, asking ourselves a different question is going to help us take action towards that outcome. And the difference between people who achieve and people who don't is rarely ability. Most of the time, the people that overachieve actually are not the people that had the most ability. You know, there's an old adage that the A student can't teach you anything. It's the C student that can teach you the most. Well, one of the things about the C students is in order to graduate, typically they had to put forth more effort. Most of the time, they had to work harder. And that means when they got out into the real world, they were already used to working harder. Hard work is always a definitive characteristic of somebody that achieves something significant. They always have worked harder than everybody else, but they don't look at it as that. They look at it as fun or excitement or part of the process. They enjoy that part. They enjoy the hard work. It's something that they love. They're passionate about it. So if you've got something that you're not passionate about, you got to ask yourself a different question. How can I do this and enjoy the process? How can I do this and be an inspiration for somebody that I care about and be an inspiration for? How can I do this and be an inspiration for somebody that I haven't even met yet? How am I going to feel if I don't take these actions 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? If I'm still having these same conversations with myself. You can use both pain and pleasure. Remember, we'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. So as you head into Wednesday, happy Wednesday, almost to Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, remember that we've all got these lists of things that we need to do. And that's great, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. And so we have to get ourselves to take action on the outcomes that we really need to accomplish in order to achieve our goals. And you should be approaching it in that fashion. It should be, here's my to-do list, but here's my overall outcomes. And so what do I need to do in order to achieve those outcomes? And a great way to have approach avoidance is to do all kinds of stuff that doesn't get you closer to your outcome because you feel busy, but you're not doing the thing that you really need to do because of fear. False evidence appearing real because you're afraid for whatever reason. So when you hit that point, which we're going to do all the time, ask yourself a better question. Then that's going to empower you. You're going to take more action. When you take more action, you get more results. When you get more results, you get more confidence. So then you take more action, and now the spiral goes upwards as opposed to down. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Going to say hi, Mr. Dakin. Great to see you. Kay, great to see you on here. Anita, I haven't seen you in a while. And Mr. Egan, thank you so much for popping on. Truly appreciate when you take the time to watch. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.